Hi, this is the May 3rd and final hangout for engineering ethics at NJIT. Yeah, this is the last lecture. This is week 15, final lesson. There's really no lesson to speak of. Your final assignment is to sort of reflect on what we've learned over the semester. You might think of going back to your first discussion section where you introduce yourself and talked about your expectations for the course, and compare what actually happened in the course to your expectations when we began. See how they compare. Any final thoughts you have, post them in your final post in lesson 15. Your final post should be normal length or thereabouts. Due this Friday. It's the last assignment. Everything is due on the 6th at midnight as normal. Lesson 15, there's no quiz and no replies for lesson 15. Lesson 14 replies are also due on the 6th at midnight. No assignments will be accepted after the 6th. That includes the extra credit assignment in lesson 11. Remember, there's a documentary I asked you to watch in lesson 11 for extra credit. If you write up that essay, go ahead and post that in the thread in lesson 11, and you'll get the credit there. Just a quick note, Moodle includes 20 points of extra credit in the lesson 11 discussion for your grade. The lesson 11 discussion is actually out of 130 points, but Moodle says that it's out of 150 points because it includes that extra credit. But that extra credit is actually extra credit. It's not going to count against you if you don't do it. Lesson 11 really is out of 130 points, and that extra 20 points won't count against you, is not counted in the final grade. So what that means is that Moodle is misrepresenting your grade a little bit. Moodle will say, if you didn't do the extra credit, Moodle will say that you did slightly worse than you actually did in lesson 11. And it also shows that the total points are higher than they actually are. The total points in the class, as you'll see from the syllabus, is, let me pull it up, 1,190 something points. Let me see. Yeah, I'll go put this up on screen. Yeah, so as you can see, the total points over the semester is 1,300 points. That's the total points, and that does not include the extra credit or the attendance credit. So what you want to do to calculate your final grade is add up all the points that you've received all the semester, over the semester, including all the extra credit and the attendance credit. Add it all up together, and then divide it by 1,300, and that should give you your final grade. You can figure out what your letter grade will be by just a straight scale here. 1,170 points is the minimum for an A. 1,040 points is the minimum for a B, and so on. This is just a straight scale. Together, and divide it by 1,300, and that should give you your final grade. You can figure out. Hello, I'm gonna mute Alex. Unless you had a question. Was there a question? Okay, I'm just gonna mute. Okay. Yeah, so you can calculate your final grade this way, and this will ignore the extra credit. So include whatever attendance credit you received when you're calculating your final grade, and that's how I'll calculate your final grade also. What else for assignments? Everything's due on the 6th. That's the last day for assignments. That includes the replies for lesson 14. Make sure you turn everything in on the 6th. If you want to go ahead and sign in for today, your sign-in word of the day is schmethics. I don't know if it has that on my, yeah, schmethics. You can go ahead and sign in on today's sign-in sheet by schmethics. One of the other questions I wanted you to consider in your final write-up is about people who are skeptical of ethics. So I think a lot of students come into this class somewhat skeptical that ethics can be taught, or basically thinking that they already know the difference between right and wrong. And so are skeptical that this class is necessary or this class is useful. Some of you might still have that opinion, and if you do, I'd like to know. But if you don't, I'd like to know how you respond to a skeptic, right? So, people who have this class as a requirement in the future and are sort of like, why do I have to take this class? Right? What do you tell them about why this class is important? The last thing I want to consider, I just want to say a little bit about how the course is structured. Hopefully, So I have my own views on ethics and morality and politics and so on, and I'm sure some of those have come across in the lectures here. They come across a lot more strongly in my live lectures, if you've attended those. But my goal here has not been to moralize or sort of finger wag and moralize at you, and I hope no one comes away from this course with my voice on their shoulder, asking themselves what would I do in these situations, because I'm not a perfect person, and a lot of these situations I don't know that I would do the right thing either. My goal in this course was not to finger wag at you or to moralize at you or to make you think that I knew everything about what's right and wrong. Hopefully this course shows you that figuring out what's right and wrong is pretty easy to do on your own, but the hard part is actually doing the right thing or avoiding doing the wrong thing. And the even harder part is reconciling your own views of right and wrong with everyone else's, because everyone else will have a different view and a different perspective. And for us to all cooperate, we have to be able to find where these different perspectives meet. So hopefully I'm not a little voice on your shoulder wagging their finger at you. But hopefully you've developed your own conscience to help you figure out how to act right and wrong. The one thing I would ask you to do in the future is think not just what I would think is right and wrong, or what would the ethics class say? What is the theory? What I'd like you to think about is whether the case that you're involved in would ever appear in an ethics course. Right? Imagine you doing something and it going horribly wrong. Is that the kind of thing that would appear that that I might talk about in the future? That I might use your case as an example? Don't become an engineering ethics example. At least don't do it for the wrong reasons. Maybe you can become an engineering ethics example for the right reasons. We showed some of those examples too with whistleblowers and the messier. So ask yourself when you have a difficult decision to make, will this appear in an engineering ethics course in the future? Because if I find out that one of my engineering ethics students ends up doing something grievously wrong and killing a bunch of people, I will probably be talking about that case in the future. So that's it. I don't know if anyone has any other questions or any other comments, but this is all I wanted to say. I will be in live lecture saying a little bit more in an hour and a half or so. But if that's it, you can sign in on the sign-in sheet with the word schmethics. Make sure to sign in the course evaluation, where you evaluate both me as an instructor and the course material, the Moodle presentation. Any comments that you give will help me improve this course for future students. Something like 250 students take this class every semester here at NJIT that I teach. So you will be saving a lot of headache if you can help me improve the course. I had a lot of fun teaching. Thanks, everyone. Good luck with finals.